Deb Bogard, and happy to be in front of you today talking about one of our passions at the Delaware City Schools with regard to Canvas, and that is modules. First, I'll tell you a little bit about our school system. Delaware City Schools is a small urban district about 20 miles north of downtown Columbus, Ohio. Our population is about 40,000 people, and our student population is about 5,500 students. We have 5 elementary schools and 1 middle school and 1 high school. We were among the first, if not the first, school system to adopt Canvas in the state of Ohio, and that was in early 2014. We had a couple of teachers pilot Canvas that second semester of the 2013-14 school year, then rolled it out to everybody for the 2014-15 school year, but we focused primarily on the middle school because not only did we roll out an LMS, which by the way we had dabbled in Moodle prior to that, but really had not had much buy-in with it. So the idea of an LMS was really very new to our teaching staff. And, but at the same time, we also rolled out one-to-one Chromebooks. So they had a lot on their plate, a lot of new things to think about. But we were excited about Canvas because we had performed kind of a bake-off with various LMSs, and Canvas definitely rose to the top in everything. So we're proud that we were early adopters in Ohio, but it is now a pretty popular LMS in the state of Ohio, and even The Ohio State University and its 66,000 students are now worshiping the Panda. So I am a veteran teacher. It's another nicer way of saying I'm old. Been teaching 24 years, and I've taught everything from special ed kindergarten to gifted 8th grade science, everything in between. I've been an ed tech coach since 2014, and I also still I need to have my kid fix. So I still run our science fair, and and have an after-school club so that the kids can do their science research projects. So what I'm really interested in also is, who are you? Who am I speaking to today? So can I see classroom teachers? All right, wonderful. How about ed tech coaches and instructional designers? Wow, all right, good. Principals, school district administrators? Wonderful. And how about like Canvas admins and other IT people? Great, we have a really good mix here today. You know, I am a Google Slides person, so this whole PowerPoint thing has me a little freaked out, so I'm sorry. All right, so why am I here talking about modules? You know, when I first thought about having modules as a presentation, I was a little worried that Canvas might consider it to be too mundane of a topic. But I really feel that that modules is something that tends to be kind of overlooked, underutilized, and used kind of on a superficial level. So what I'm going to do today is talk about some of the real super tool aspects of Canvas that, particularly if you have been using Canvas for a while and you haven't looked deeply at modules for a while, you might be surprised at what has changed and what has developed in modules over the last year and a half or so. So why modules? Well, modules is a fantastic organizing tool both for the teachers and the students. It truly is a tool to guide students' learning. It is a wonderful tool for differentiating in the classroom. And it is also a great opportunity for giving student choice and for personalization. So let me tell you a little bit about our journey with modules. So the first year of Canvas at our middle school, we really didn't do a lot of directive teaching of the teachers in terms of how they should use it. We were not directive. We pretty much let them explore it and experiment on their own. And there wasn't a whole lot of buy-in with the modules tool. We heard a lot of concerns. We heard a lot of grumbling that first year. The students were having trouble navigating. They were confused where to go and what to do. Parents were getting on and, again, kind of completely confused about the environment. And some of that, of course, was due to the fact that this was a whole new, the idea of an LMS was a whole new concept for everyone. And the teachers then were getting emails from parents and dealing with frustrated students, and so that was frustrating them as well. So we really started talking as an educational technology department about what we could do to smooth out some of those pinch points. And we realized early on that modules was really something that we needed to promote. So as I mentioned before, we are not a prescriptive kind of school system in terms of utilizing our LMS. We want to give teachers that freedom and that leeway to explore and build on their own. What we did instead, we did a lot of modeling. We started running our PD through Canvas immediately. And of course, when we were doing that, we were building through modules. We had the attitude and we tried to encourage teachers to fail forward, you know, that it wasn't always going to work great that first time, but to, you know, keep trying. And we also noticed that our teachers really crossed the spectrum of being able to, being comfortable with technology. We had everything from teachers who were still using flip phones and only grudgingly opening their email to teachers who, no matter what you would give them, they would run with it and then find things that you didn't even know were possible in the technology. So Mitch Benson touched on this a little bit, and I have to agree that in terms of James Bond characters, yeah, Pierce Brosnan, definitely the novice, okay. So the first thing that we realized with our novices was that the modules environment, when we were trying to get them to utilize modules, you know, it has that nice, clean interface. There's not a whole lot of distraction. And it's in a very linear format. So of course we said, well, you can put your resources in here, and you can just have lists of resources. So a lot of the teachers, that's exactly how they started. They put links to videos. They put links to other technology tools that they were using. They would put links to the online games that they would allow the students to use once they were done with their standard classwork. And as they got a little more comfortable with that, we introduced them to quizzes. And in some cases, I would even bribe my teachers into using quizzes by writing their first quiz for them. Because I truly knew that once they had that opportunity, once they saw that how the quiz worked, and they got into SpeedGrader and used that they would be hooked. And for the most part, they were. So now we get to the proficient users. So Daniel Craig, it's okay, it's all right. You know, now that we got them using quizzes was kind of the gateway drug to assignments, right? And we got them started with simple assignments, and the cool thing about assignments was that they didn't have to be online. They could still put their assignment into, you know, into Canvas, but then have a paper submitted to them. And you know, we talk about the SAMR model a lot in the school district. And if you're familiar, we're talking about substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. So, you know, when teachers are starting to make those paradigm shifts in their teaching, they're going to start out really just substituting the low tech for the high tech. But that's okay. That's a path that they can take. So online assignments, they could be on paper, they could be turned in electronically, but that also then opened up the conversation to the tools that modules allows for. And I'm going to very quickly here, I forgot to do this at first. I'm going to log into our instance here. Keep your fingers crossed. Seems to be doing well. Good. All right. So if you're not terribly familiar with how modules looks, or how you can actually use the modules tools to start kind of doing more with the organization and the guiding with learning, there's this nice little gear wheel here. And if you go into your edit screen, you can add requirements, and you can actually tell this, you know, you can set down that the students have to move through a set of activities in that module in a certain order, or in any order that you like. But in order to complete the module, they have to do these certain items, and you can set them for example, if it's a quiz, you can say they have to get a 4 out of 5 on the quiz in order for the module to be complete. Let me open up another one here that shows a little bit more. All right, so here is a module that has a prerequisite, which means that they can't even access this module until another module has been completed. So this really helps with the going through in a sequential process. They can also, again, this is where they would complete them, so they can either contribute to a page if it's a discussion, they can mark it as done. If it is just something such as a reading that they do on a page, or they can have to get a certain score on a quiz. So what that opens up the discussion for then, these module tools, is some basic differentiation. In the assignments, if you assign to a certain group, in the module, the assignment will only show for the students in that group, or you can assign even to an individual student. That was one concern that our teachers had right away when the differentiation came out with assignments. They didn't, they said, well, we don't want kids to see what they don't have access to or what they're not supposed to do. Well, Canvas took care of that, and it is only visible if they have been assigned that particular module item. So that is a real plus. All right, so let's get to advanced. And I, again, agree with Mitch that Sean Connery is definitely the penultimate James Bond. And as our advanced teachers started really building out their modules, we started having conversations with them about self-paced options, about menu-driven learning. So instead of that sage on the stage paradigm, now you can start having students working at their own pace, at their own learning velocity, and you can be working with small groups of students circulating around the room. So over the last 2 years, as we talked with teachers and as we made sure that we met teachers where they were in their own comfort with technology, we have gotten to the point now where at our middle school this past year, 88% of our teachers were using modules. And it has resulted in so much more satisfaction at everybody's level. The students are much happier because they can come in and they, open their Chromebooks and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing for that day. So 88%, we just had a few no's. I don't know, that's Dr. No. All right, so I have to give props to Canvas for making our module cell a whole lot easier over this past couple of years, because those module settings that I was showing you about, those module tools, were not there when we first adopted Canvas. And the mastery paths are now a new thing that also will work beautifully in modules. And I know that, I think right next door, they have a session on mastery paths. So after this conference is over and they post the videos, if you have not had an opportunity to take a look at mastery paths and how that can increase differentiation to a whole new level, definitely take a look at that. It's wonderful. Another thing that modules can now be is the default home page. So thank you. That really, again, has helped us with getting teachers to, when they open up that new course that PowerSchool creates for them at the beginning of the school year, and right there it says, start a new module. So they have that additional reminder to use modules. And now announcements will even display if you have made modules your home page. So course announcements, I think you can set it up to 5 course announcements will show. All right, I think Mitch touched on this earlier on when he was talking about the blueprint courses and the fact that one of the items that is so confusing to students when they open up a Canvas course can be that big, long side menu with all of those options. We don't need them to do that. If you are utilizing modules, modules is their gateway. That is the compact one-stop shop for every single thing that they do in Canvas. So turn off those menu settings. It's very easy to do. You go into settings and go to the navigation tab and turn everything off except home you can't turn off. Leave modules, announcements if you use that, grades, and then Google Drive if you use it. Now the grades, I used to tell the teachers not to put the grades or to hide that one, but then I found out that that was the only way that the students at this point, but it sounds like it's changing, but it was the only way that they could see the rubrics for the assignments that they had. So I think though now they're going to be able to see those rubrics in other places other than the grades page. So you may be able to hide grades if you are using, for example, we're using another SIS, and our grade book is through that SIS. We use PowerSchool, so we want students and parents to actually go there for the grades instead of looking at Canvas. So as you look at your Canvas modules and looking at the way that you set up modules, there are so many options for that. Some teachers like to set their modules up in a chronological order, so you will have a week-by-week module organization. And again, there's no right way to have modules. You can, you set it up depending on what works best for you and works best for your students. So chronologically can work for you. You may want to do it in a topical, thematic way. So you have a unit that you are studying Egypt. So that would be your module. Another way is if you want to set up your modules depending on the type of task that you're having students do. So you could have your quizzes module. You could have your assignments module. You could have your pages module where students do their reading. So a couple of best practices that I just wanted to go over with you really quickly. First of all, at the beginning of the year, have a little tutorial module at the top of your page that tells the students, that gives the students information on how to use Canvas, because you're always going to have that summer brain drain, and even though the students may have used Canvas the year before, they're going to completely forget how to navigate in it. So have a little FAQ. You can either leave that up there for the year, or you can turn that off when you feel like it. Also, consistent module formatting, and that includes the language that you use. Just because you named a file a certain thing in your drive doesn't mean that that makes a whole lot of sense for your student. So make sure that your naming conventions are clear and consistent from one module to the next. And please avoid the never-ending module. Sometimes I'll go into a teacher's course and I'll see something like that, and it just kind of gives me a little bit of an anxiety attack to see just so much stuff in that module, so I can imagine what the students feel like when they see it. So the way that you can avoid the never-ending module is by breaking modules into pieces. And one of the ways that I've done that, I'm going to quickly go back to my instance of Canvas here, is I use kind of an outline numbering form. So this is my online science fair course, and I have module 0, which, because I lied and told the kids that there were only 6 modules. Well, there's actually 7, but module 0 is, you know. So they fall for it every year. It's wonderful. And then I have module, well, I'll go to module 1 because that makes a little more sense. So I have 1.0 and then 1.1. And then I broke up module 1 into 2 parts. So I have module 1 part 1 and module 1 part 2. But I keep going with kind of the outline convention of 1.2, 1.3. And it also helps when you're talking with the kids and they're like, what am I supposed to do? 1.3 instead of da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's kind of a quick, you know, it's right at the beginning and they can focus right in on that.
I have a question.
Sure.
You talk about SAMR and that redefinition that you're wanting to grow to. We kind of went a different way, especially with our secondary
So the question is that as teachers, we're trying to help teachers to change their paradigm with their teaching, that the modules can become almost like an online course, is what I'm hearing you say. And then the students are just sitting there kind of dead-eyed, going through everything in their modules, and the teacher is sitting at the desk. I guess we haven't really encountered that too much, partially because we have also been talking so much in our schools about station rotation and about menu model. Middle school and also high school. So, and the younger groups, I mean, elementary teachers have been using station rotation for decades. They called it the workshop way. And it has been something of a hard sell for middle and high school when we say workshop, and they're like, but that's for the little kids. No, it really works so well for the older kids as well. And you get them collaborating, and that's important because one of the important skills that students need to learn for today's workplace is that collaboration. So, yeah, that's a tough one, and I don't know if I have a really good answer for it other than, keep talking to them about modification and what you're doing great things in your classroom. What's one little thing that you can do to take it to the next level? And maybe that would help along as well. But our teachers are, if anything, more averse to the idea of too much online learning. We bring up and they bring up the topic of too much screen time for the kids as well. We don't really know how much time is too much screen time for our young people. Studies are coming out, and there are concerns, but we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants right now about that. And we just have to think that, especially at the middle school level, they still need to have that personal interaction with that teacher. They need to develop that relationship. A study that I read recently that was kind of interesting is that, with a lot of this online work, teachers are adding videos for students to, in order to flip their classrooms. In this study, what they found is that students responded much better to videos if the video was with the teacher's voice. And what's the reason for that? Because they have that relationship with the teacher, and if that's not there, then they're not going to really be engaged with that video. All right, let's get back here. Okay, so modules really can encourage learning independence in our students. We need to have them taking responsibility for their own learning. In this age of Google, of being able to learn anything from YouTube, I fixed our kitchen sink with YouTube recently. My husband and my son don't even start to work on the car before they have gotten onto YouTube and seen that video. So, the ability to teach yourself pretty much anything. I'm teaching myself guitar from YouTube. It's all there, but students don't realize, they don't know necessarily how to learn with technology. They know how to play with technology, but they need some real guidance with becoming independent learners with that. So as you use those module tools in Canvas, you can use them for a variety of learning activities. We have third grade teachers, second grade teachers who are using modules as a way to work on math fluency practice. So instead of those horrible sheets that you pass out really quickly to all of the kids and then, all right, everybody go, and you've got 2 minutes. And You know, some of the kids are freaking out and never do pass them, and it becomes a really kind of traumatic experience for them. If you put those timed fluency kinds of practice on Canvas, and they can do it when they have an opportunity, when they're going through their particular module or their particular stations, then that whole kind of stressful situation is really brought down several levels. I mentioned before is extension activities. There is so much on the web that you can be sending students to do when they are done with their normal schoolwork, or when you have those students who passed their pre-assessment and now you want them to take a deeper dive into their learning. So let me just kind of go through a few of those. There are also ways that you can go through sequential tasks, particularly in math, where you need to learn one particular skill set before you can go on to a next one. The way that you can set modules up to say you have to do it in a certain order can really help with that. And then, of course, the mastery learner by using the mastery paths. So with the drill and practice, what you do with the module is you set up a prerequisite module with a scored summative. So for example, you have students working on math fact practice in multiplication. So they have to score a certain score on their 3s before they can move on to their 4s. And it's all, and the beauty of it is you're not having to grade it, and you're not having, and they don't have to sit through you know, tests that they already have passed. They have already reached that 95% proficiency. You can do it with vocabulary lists. Foreign language teachers use that for that. You can use it with spelling lists. Sequential learning. I talked about math and how it's important that maybe they have one particular skill before they move on to the next one. Essay writing is also, when you think about it, and in terms of a kind of a formulaic essay writing process, that we have to teach our students through kind of an essay formula before they get a sense of what good writing sounds like and feels like. So you can literally take them through, okay, you have to have gotten this part of the essay done before you can move on to the next. And then mastery paths are set up so that every student takes a prerequisite pre-assessment, and then based on the score that they get on that pre-assessment, they are taken on one of 3 paths. So you can have the high scorers who are taking more of a deeper dive. They already have the concepts that you need, or that they need to learn. And so now you can have them explore further or do some kind of an extension with it. Then you've got your middle of the road students, and you have the students who are going to need some extra intervention in order to learn those concepts. One way that a couple of our teachers have been using mastery paths through modules is an intervention. So again, everybody takes that first assessment, and if they pass it, they move on to the next module, the next set of concepts. Those students who don't pass it get special reteaching activities. The only challenge that we've had in getting students or getting teachers to really buy into the mastery paths is that you really are having to build 3 different tiers of learning activities, and that's a lot of front loading. So it's not something that you can do on the fly. It's something that takes a lot of forethought, and that could be something that departments of teachers could really work on together. And at the I'm coming up to the end here, and so I'm just going to tell you a little bit, or just a couple of bits of information that have helped out, little knickknacks. If you're a James Bond fan, his name was Knick-Knack. That was, okay. So he was one of the bad guys. Text headers. One of the ways that you can really define and help students navigate through those, through the modules is by using text headers to kind of break up modules into bite-sized pieces. Indenting is another way. Canvas allows you to keep indenting lines in a module, so you can have the first item in the module, say it's a reading, and then they have an assignment and a quiz that goes along with that reading. So the reading would not be indented, and then you would have the 2 items below it that would be indented 1 or 2 indentations over, so that they could see that those were sub-items for that top item. And then finally, maybe you don't want modules to be your home page. Maybe you really want that nice, pretty landing page for students to go to. You can still put a button or some type of a link on that home page that the students can click and take to modules. So, any way that you can make your Canvas experience a one-stop shop for the kids, a way for them to see that organization of their learning, it's really going to benefit everybody. So, thank you, and anybody have any questions?
I was curious to know, you said in the beginning your teachers were not using modules. What did they gravitate to instead of modules?
So the question was, if teachers weren't using modules, what were they gravitating to? And I would say that most of them were gravitating to the assignments page. So, and the problem with that then would be that the assignments would not necessarily be in the order that the students were supposed to be utilizing them, and that was very confusing for the students. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.